Hello, Australia and New Zealand. Welcome to My Millennial Money. We're saying kind of New Zealand because getting a lot more Kiwis join us from across the ditch. And
Not anymore.
not anymore. Well, they're joining us via their ears.
Would it be a Dutch?
A ditch.
A Dutch.
So
Welcome anyway.
welcome anyway. Ash is joining us today, who's our resident
Welcome,
voiceover
Asha.
professional.
Yes, thank you.
Quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fun episode. I wanted to just take stock of, I guess, because we are kind of ratcheting out of this COVID shutdown.
Hopefully.
And I just thought we'd take stock and see what we've kind of learned from this period.
Yeah.
What others in the community have learned. And just the different things about keeping things in your own house, like your own job. And speaking of in-house, this is a terrible segue, but did you know Sun Super, our show partner, uses a combination of in-house and outsourced investment managers. Around 30 people work in Sydney, plus they work with investment managers across the world, including Vanguard for some of their index options. So basically what that means is they're not wasting resources internally for stuff that we can go to, say, Vanguard, which is the gold standard of index funds, and saying, hey, Vanguard, can you have some of our members' money to invest in your index funds? And it's just a win-win because they're keeping the in-house stuff for maybe some of the active management they're doing, and then they outsource to Vanguard for their index options.
Yeah. Flexible.
Understand completely.
Yeah. So if you are interested in reviewing your superannuation, we're not blindly telling anyone to run to Sun Super, but we are saying throw Sun Super in the mix, and you can do that by going to sunsuper.com.au/M3. Thank you, Sun Super, for being part of My Millennial Money. Now, we ready to get into this?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's crank it up. And are you ready to do an intro to this episode, Asher?
Okay.
All right.
What are we talking about again?
I don't know. Let's do
cool.
it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to My Millennial Money. On today's episode, John and Glenn are joined by professional voiceover actor, me, Asher Phillips. We'll be discussing today a rather touching subject, rather controversial.
Poignant. even?
Poignant. Oh, good one.
Thank you.
Coalescent? No, probably not. It's about coming out of COVID-19. Coming out on the other side, seeing what's there. What's it going to be like? I don't know, Glenn. What do you think?
Well, it's funny. I was reflecting just this morning in prepping this episode, and I know that, at the time of this recording and probably at the time of people listening to this, things are probably not 100% back to happening. Okay, so we acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge the people who are still out of work or are doing it really tough and are really struggling because not everybody kept their income through this time or their way of life. Like a lot of us lost something, and I don't think anyone was above this COVID thing. But for me, I was thinking about a time when I was starting my business and when I had no money, okay? And I looked in an old journal this morning from June 2011, okay? And I actually wrote an entry down.
You were a young boy back
I was a
then, Glenn.
young whippersnapper. What
Dear.
lessons have I learned from having no money? So this was a diary entry, okay?
Oh, different sort of diary to what I'm,
What were you thinking?
Not
Dear
dear diary.
Why doesn't she like me?
Yeah, exactly. That was the
Is it
page
because I
before.
have no money?
Yeah.
That was 2010.
Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
So what have I learned from having no money? So I think I wrote 8 points. The first one, life still goes on. My heart still beats. So you're not going to drop dead from having money. Like for me, the worst thing that could happen is you actually die from having no money. And that's actually not going to happen. Okay.
No, unless you have a heart attack as a result of stressing out about it.
Yeah, but extreme unlikely.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So anything above that, we can get through.
Yeah.
So you're still going to wake up tomorrow, it's okay. You physically are going to be okay.
Yep.
The second point, I'm fortunate enough to have what I've got. So a lot of us might be going through a time, through COVID, coming out of COVID, going, well, I didn't have 2 cents to scratch together, but I had a roof over my head, had a pillow, had a blanket.
Yeah.
I was 4 meters away from a running tap. which, there's people in the world who have to walk each day to get fresh water.
Yeah. If at all, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, we are still relatively well off if we have lost our job or haven't got an income. The third one, which was a big one that a lot of you in the Facebook group commented on, and I wrote it down, priorities emerge rapidly. So the minute you have no money,
Yes.
it's amazing what the priorities actually are.
Important things in life.
Totally. The next one, debt is dumb. I think I had a car loan or something at that time, and you really know it's like, oh crap. And people in the Facebook group wrote that. And it's like, oh, the debt. And it's interesting, just on the debt thing, a lot of you coming out of this COVID thing, you've actually realized not necessarily the debt or the repayment amount. And I'll give you an example. A lot of people withdrew money out of super and paid off their debt, okay? Where if they withdrew the money out of their super and just kept it in the bank account, it would lubricate their cash flow for 3 months or whatever, right?
Yep.
But they've just gone, I'll take 10 grand out and pay the 10 grand debt off.
Yeah.
But all they've freed up is maybe $200 a month in a minimum repayment. So, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just illustrating the cloud that hangs over you puts more pressure on you with the debt than the actual $200 a month payment.
It's the emotion, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just really, when little Glenn was going through this in 2011, he really understood that debt was dumb, and it's got nothing to do about whether I can afford the $200 a month minimum payment.
Yeah.
It was the psychology of that shadow over my life.
The emotional weight of that
Totally.
carry. Yeah, for sure.
Totally. The next one, time is money. Should I be working? So, and it was funny, when I did start my own business coming out of this, I tried to get so many jobs and I just couldn't. And I don't know if it was like the universe saying, no, you will focus on what you're doing.
Business owner.
Like, I was declined from dish pig jobs at the Batto Bay Hotel.
Were you really?
Overqualified.
Absolutely. I tried to get so many part-time jobs just to put a bit of food on the table, couldn't get the job. So,
I've seen you clean dishes as well. You're pretty good.
oh mate, I'm efficient when I stack them in the dishwasher, and I've got this whole mechanism. And
I reckon you'd be a good Tetris player as well.
thank you, Asher. So I think if you are out of work or struggling, can you put some things in the mailboxes? Hey, can I mow your lawn? $30. Or can you actually be out there generating money? Like you might be working in a club and they're still shut down or something like that. So I think that was on my mind.
Yeah. Drop the ego.
Totally. The next point was, do not take it for granted.
Yeah.
And that was a common theme in the Facebook group. People were like, oh my gosh. And we've all kind of chosen a few things that we liked in the Facebook group. We're going to read your comments because, again, this podcast is for our M3 community. So we'd like to bring everyone along on this journey. So yeah, you've got an income, but it can stop in an instant from COVID, disability, illness, whatever.
Yeah.
So
No, it's good.
and then
It's impressive that you've kept it this long as well.
my income or
No, this,
my diary.
yes.
Yeah, it's in
dear
my
diary.
top drawer next to my bed.
I'm impressed by the income as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm hanging in there.
Made a few decisions.
And then the next one, which was a lot of people wrote this. I wrote, keep money aside for hard times.
Yeah.
So, and it's so funny. It's like I've been personally criticized, publicly because we do this podcast of that, oh, he's not relevant and all that. But it's like, no, I know what it's like to have no money.
Yeah.
Trust me. In 2011,
I'm a business owner.
I'm a business owner. Look, that's my terrible handwriting, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
I have been
Some
up
sort of
all
scribble.
night.
Yeah.
I've been up all night with anxiety attacks while having no money because the rent's still due, the car payment's still due. I totally get it. Now, and then in this whole mindset piece for me, building my business, and it could also be relevant for you, coming out of COVID if your income has dropped. There was that old book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's pretty wild, okay? There was a real quote, and I wrote this at the top there. I'll read it. and I hung my hat off this in the hard times. No man has ever achieved worthwhile success who did not, at one time or another, find himself with at least 1 foot hanging well over the brink of failure. How
Yeah.
wild's that?
Yeah, it is.
And it says man, but woman, man, mankind, whatever, person.
It was written back in 1930.
Yeah, 19 No man ever achieved worthwhile success who did not at one time or another find himself with at least 1 foot hanging well over the brink of failure.
Yeah.
My whole body was hanging over the brink of failure.
Yeah.
So I guess what I wanted to do in this episode is kind of just discuss, the whole world has been through this sieve called COVID-19 and we are coming out of it. And we surveyed the group, about 70% of you, your income hadn't changed at all. You might still be working at home. So there was a lot of people whose income hadn't changed. There was a lot of people who took money out of super and put it on their home deposit. There was a lot of people that took money out of super and paid off debt. There was a lot of people who took money out of super and genuinely had to live off it. So again, a variety of different people listening that I think we can all learn about the reality check that we've had. So what we're going to do, we're going to probably just share our own thoughts about the downturn, COVID, what we've thought, and then we're going to read some comments in the Facebook group. And it is a little bit of a different episode, this, so, hang in there, strap yourself in, and just use this as an encouragement. So I guess, Asher, for you, you just kind of just refresh everybody about your career change and all that pre-COVID, why you did it and all that. And then I guess what you've experienced yourself through this COVID thing.
Yeah, so basically towards the end of 2019, I left my high-paying job because it was just too much. Just wasn't worth it in the end. The money was good, but the hours weren't good and its effect on me wasn't good. So basically left the job. I'm now working a retail job, like a general retail full-time sort of, $50K a year type job. And I was there I started in January, and now all this stuff hit really recently. Yeah.
But that job, it's pseudo passion. It's a music store.
Yeah, it's a music store, so it's not like I hate where I'm working or anything like that. It's like a personal interest of mine, so it's all good. But it's still a very it's a far world away from where I came from.
So you got put off basically as soon as this started, being in retail, or how did that go?
No, actually. So it actually went the opposite way because everyone has all this time to spend at home.
Yeah.
And, whether you play an instrument today or not, everyone's got all this time to think about what are the things that I would want to do always, but never had the time to do, or always use work as an excuse. The excuse doesn't exist anymore. So we were actually really, really busy because everyone wants to learn how to play guitar or piano, or if they already play, they're finding a new reason to buy another one because they're just sitting at home thinking about it. So we're actually really fortunate where we've been, in comparison to other retail stores, really, really busy, and online as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
And even like people like me will walk in because I'm bored. I'm like, I'm going to buy some new cables.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have people just walk in, like people will literally bring in their guitar that's been in the wardrobe for 30 years, bring it in and say, oh, can you guys fix this up for me so I can play it again? I haven't played in 30 years, but
they've had some time to think about it because of COVID.
Yeah.
Do you think, personally, you were probably fortunate to be in this position pre-COVID?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was sort of smiling to myself on the way to my current job, thinking about what if I had stayed in my old job?
I was going to ask that.
Where, I have an older sibling who still works there. And like, I know that place has basically been on fire since all this stuff happened. And I was already struggling with the workload, as was my team at the time as well.
Yeah.
So I was sort of, like I said, smiling to myself, thinking about, thank goodness I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have handled it very well.
You would have
at all.
imploded.
Yeah, exactly.
From home.
Yeah, from home. And that was the thing as well. Like I was working from home previous to COVID anyway. That was like an option I could have taken. But I was never any good at it because there's just so much stuff at home I'd rather be doing.
Yeah.
So this would have been really, really bad. So I'm actually, fortunate to be able to leave my house, be out with the public as much as I can.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be your personal learnings from the last 3 months even?
Yeah. I think there's two things. I think there's two things. One, and you sort of touched on it before, a lot of people walk around like whatever situation they're currently in is set in stone and it's going to be forever. So whether that's the current job you have or whatever, but also the actual system that we exist in, there's no reason that any of this has to continue. There's no, like, it's obviously for the best that it does and for the, to support everyone, but things can crumble really quickly, especially in something like this where it's obviously never happened before. There's no sort of, test we can do or learnings we can get from another country. Like, it's never happened before. So, that was one thing that sort of woke me up around, things aren't always going to be this way. And I think following on from that was that I think after when this is all over, I hear a lot of people talking about, when things go back to normal. Well, I don't think there's going to be a normal anymore. There's going to be a new normal.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. It's like probably the biggest recent event that our world has seen would be how 9/11 changed air travel, for example. I mean, and then before that, like, I absolutely think this is the war of our generation. And could you imagine back in 1940 or whatever, you're at home, you hear planes going over if you're in London or whatever, and you have to put the curtains over and keep the lights off. I mean, that's pretty scary. Put my thing on silent. There we go. But that was a defining worldwide event.
Yep.
And this is like, because remember when I remember when they first happened, and I'd watch the press conference, and ScoMo's like, from Monday, you can't go to the gym. You can't. We're shutting everything down. It's like, wow, this is like
that changes.
It can change in an instant. And I've always had this kind of a positive psychology of when I had no money or when I ran my own business and there was no customers or something, always reinforce. And I used to always say to myself, it can all change in an instant.
Yeah.
So be hopeful for the future. But it's important to note that with our financial life, it can all change in an instant. And it's like we can't control it. It's not within anyone's control.
No.
So I guess to be succinct in your point, Asher, it's like, do not take anything for granted, basically. And if you're doing what you're doing now and you don't like it, well, it can all change in an instant. So why don't you get active and start going, you know what, I don't want to do what I'm doing now.
I think one other interesting thing that's come out also as the result of me working in a place where we were still open, still having face-to-face conversations with customers and things like that, is that because everyone's had all this time to spend at home and not necessarily a lot to occupy themselves with, there's a lot of people making big changes in the way that they're thinking about things or how they want to conduct themselves, whether that's at work or in their personal lives or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I use the analogy of someone wanting to learn the guitar after always wanting to do it. But that sort of, I guess, that shift in mindset is happening to a lot of people at home where, they're realizing, actually, I don't like commuting to work.
No.
Why do I work so far away from home?
Yeah.
Or actually, I don't like working in, this industry or that sort of thing. All these, I guess, thoughts that probably would have been at the back of their head, but because they're so preoccupied with getting to work or whatever, you don't have time to sort of flesh it out. But now you're sitting at home and you can sort of let those thoughts, develop a bit more.
Yeah, and even like the basic things like board games have come back out and little hobbies that people have had around the house, and Bunnings have never been busier because of little projects happening and just the real basic things in life that people, as you said, just brushed over because they were too busy.
Yeah, and especially that one about personal connection as well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I've heard in my family and outside of it as well, is just how much people miss seeing other people. Or not just seeing them, because obviously we can, FaceTime and whatever, but being around other people and spending, quality or not so quality time with them, but just being in someone's presence. It's like, it's had a much bigger effect on me than what I thought, because I usually refer to myself as an introvert, but now I'm sort of sitting at home like, I'd really like to go somewhere soon.
Yeah, totally. So
Interesting.
I guess, John, like from the angle of you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got a business, what have you learned, I guess, from COVID, from, I guess, the personal side and also as a business owner?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like late Feb or early March or whenever we're told to shut things down, I was at home with the family, no school, and we're like, okay, well, we're not going anywhere. The kids aren't asking for play dates and with their friends because they know they can't. So that was comforting in itself. There's no kids' sports, so there was no rushing around. There was no commuting, and it was just re-engaging. And for the first few days, I was like, how good's this? As a business owner, and the business owner mentality, which Glenn, you could relate to, is it's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems. So like I sat there and thought, well, everyone's going through probably this business owner mindset of not knowing when you're next going to get paid. And in a way, I thought everyone can really learn from this, as hard as it may seem. Like, because as a business owner, you don't know what's happening next week. You don't know you're going to get that fortnightly paycheck and the amount it's going to be, and we can forecast some different things, but it's always hustling to make sure we can continue to grow and build. And I think one thing that I've maybe realised, and looking at the Facebook group with comments, is going back to your point, Asher, not taking things for granted, which means, well, yeah, I'm going to get paid every fortnight, but that can be taken from me almost instantly, as it has. Now, this might be a 1 in 20, 1 in 50, 1 in 70 year event, who knows? But the fact is it happened without anyone realising it was going to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Except
it's
Bill
happened.
Gates.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, so it's but I think it's been great to just get back to the basic things in life and just enjoy our own company and realise that we can actually get by with very little.
Yeah.
It's our choice to do things differently.
Yeah, and that was kind of my prophetic list, if you will, of, the priorities emerge rapidly,
Yeah,
overnight.
Yep.
Like, unbelievable.
totally.
I think it was also important to note that, for me personally, yes, it can change in an instant. The initial thing that I noticed with society, everyone was a lot more tolerant of each other.
Yeah.
Everyone was a lot more, because it was the ultimate equalizer.
Yep.
No one was above this.
Nah.
So you'd go out, get your takeaway coffee. There was this somber type of, hey, no one's elite in this.
Yeah.
It was really weird from a societal point of view that, hang on, no, we're actually all the same.
Everyone needs toilet paper.
Everyone needs toilet paper. But it was just, I thought that was just noticing that everyone was kind of in the same thing. So
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I never saw anyone like the 1.5 meter rule.
Yep.
I didn't see anyone not follow that.
No.
No one stepped in front. There was no urgency to get there
I got
quicker.
told off twice.
Of course you did.
And you're actually serious, right?
Yeah, of course he is. Look at him.
No, okay. Let's just back the truck up for a second. No, I wasn't breaking the law. I was just standing in a weird spot chatting with somebody. And this guy has a go at me. I'm like, all right, okay.
Were you within 1.5 meters of him, this person that yelled at
Yeah,
you?
he had to walk past me, but people don't realize that it's kind of like within 15 minutes. If you're walking past someone in the street, no risk really.
Yeah.
But and the COVID app, they say we're tracking 15 minutes. Anyway, I don't want to get into.
Yeah. If the whole
I
toilet
could have been wrong. I don't know.
the whole toilet
Could have
paper
been.
thing was interesting though, wasn't it? Like there was this fortnight, 3 weeks, however long it went for, where like Ames and I were sitting at home going, why are people such idiots? Like why are they going out and busting their balls to get toilet paper?
Yeah.
Like it's the last thing on earth you would ask for if you're a hunter gatherer,
Yep.
right? To survive, we don't need toilet paper.
No, you'll be fine without it.
No, but I think the interesting thing with that whole thing was, and I listened on the Joe Rogan podcast with Tom Green, he said the problem probably was because it was such bulky items, there would be less actual units of toilet paper in the store as opposed to units of baked beans.
Yeah.
Because they literally take up more space.
Yeah.
And my theory on it, because I think it started in ACT, my own theory was that the government down there, there was rumours that there was going to be a shutdown. So public servants went and gone, oh, we'll just stock up on 1 or 2 things. And then because it looked like there was a whole aisle empty, like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
hit social
Better
media,
get some.
run on toilet paper. But
Yeah.
now if you look at, even at Woolworths up here at Baddo, you can't buy the big 50-roll boxes of things anymore. They're only the heaps of the smaller ones.
Hello.
So,
Yeah.
but I guess, Yeah, it's funny that, it's very primitive. But I will say as well, like, I think there are a lot of people, John, in the community and probably those listening who don't shop based on, you know how on the shelf it says, it's $12 and then or X amount per 100 kilograms.
Yeah.
Or the pack of toilet paper is $18 or
Per gram.
$2 per
Yeah.
roll or something.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the community aren't that well off, they won't shop based on I'll buy more to get more value because
Yeah.
they don't have the cash flow.
I'll buy one at a time.
They'll buy one
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
time or something like that. That's kind of my own view on the toilet paper thing.
Yeah, but you can relate this back to, I suppose, investing is a lot of the time when there's peaks in markets, it's a FOMO thing. It's doing what everyone else is doing,
Yep.
and toilet paper sales were a great example of that,
Yep.
weren't they? Like I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm going to get some toilet paper anyway.
I've
Yeah,
still got stock in my house from pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Like I just
Yeah.
because I always buy the bulk or
Yeah.
like the biggest one you can get.
And like I'm almost absolutely sure that anyone who went out and did sort of panic buy, that sort of thing, it's not because they needed it. It's just the thought of soon there's not going to be any, and in 3 months' time, then I'm going to be squatting out the back with some leaves.
Yeah.
So I better just grab some now and look like a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah. The problem was I was worried. It's like, what if I need to go and buy some just because I need some, not because I want to be panic buying?
Well, those are the people. I was working with a guy who was in that situation where he just didn't have any,
Yeah.
and he couldn't get anywhere. I didn't give him any of mine because obviously I need it. But still, I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah. So, and I think as well for me, so the societal thing, I also think from my own, so I guess for the last 10 years having my own financial planning business, it was pretty regular, reliable, good income.
Yep.
Okay. So again, for me personally, it was just a bit of a gut check, a fact check that, hey, don't take it for granted. It could be gone. And I think the millennial generation, because we have grown up without any financial hiccups. We've got what we want. We get it, blah, blah, blah. When I was 5 years old or whatever, interest rates are 18%, crazy. I've never lived actively through a recession.
No.
It's been good. I think it was the reality check that we all needed.
Yeah.
And particularly for people that are older, that have had 30 years of good financial growth, just another little reality check. Hey, so I was even thinking last night, I might just notch my emergency fund up just a little bit more. Instead of the 3 months, I might take it to the 6 months just for that gut check.
Well, if you had, I was thinking this yesterday actually, if you had your 3 months worth of funds sitting there, essentially that should be getting you till the end of this month, shouldn't it? End of May, right? So
Yeah.
you should be still sitting there with surplus funds. Even if you've had no work, you've had no government incentives, no super drawdown, you should be okay for a week or a half.
Yeah, but that's right. And that's the difference, John, between data, facts, and emotions.
Correct.
And
yeah,
that's why
but
for
logically,
me,
3 months is plenty.
Totally.
Like if this is being repeated every 10 years even, this is
Totally.
more than plenty,
Yeah, for
3
sure.
months.
Like I've got an emergency fund of X amount, and I've got a heap of money on my offset account. But I'm just like, I'm probably in my life, I don't ever want to be under X amount cash heavy.
Yeah.
Just for the comfort thing, because, I run a small business, being the podcast, and we get sponsors, because the first thing that goes is marketing budget.
Yeah.
And even because I follow the V8 supercars, because I'm a bogan, one team just announced that they're pulling out because their big sponsor fell over. And actually, John, another thing for me was interesting to note, and one of Warren Buffett's thing was when the tide goes out, you can actually see who's not wearing any clothes.
Yeah.
So this has been an absolute reset button, and some of the big players you could just see they were just running on the line.
Yep.
Absolutely running. And Virgin, and COVID didn't knock Virgin over, people. that had not had a profit for over 7 years. Like
Yep.
this was just a handy excuse for them to say, "Oh, COVID did it."
Yep.
Like it was going to happen. Something was not right with
Yeah,
their business
it was a
model.
final blow, wasn't it?
It was the final blow,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
totally
it's
sucks.
It's a graceful way to go out as well, to be able to put it on
It's a great excuse.
external circumstances.
It's a
Blame
great-
someone
Yeah,
else.
we were
Yeah.
doing fine, but you know what happened, and you know we ran out of
Yeah.
toilet paper for the airplane,
And
then-
it's a shame that there was 5,000 Australians. Well, how many employed by, I don't know, heaps of Australians employed with Virgin that are out of work. And I really feel sorry that you've lost your job. But there's a company there that they were not running efficiently. $7 billion in debt?
Mm.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
How? Like-
If it was half right, if there was $3 billion of debt,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's just wild.
Yeah, it's a lot of coin. So I hope this is going to be the case. I'm predicting this will be the case. But businesses, large or small, wake up in this new version of life and say, you know what, I've got 10 staff. They can come in 1 or 2 days a week instead of 5 days, or they can actually do their whole job from home and I can downsize my office, or just giving people that flexibility of life and understanding that their efficiency, their results won't suffer as a result of that. I think that's hopefully what will happen.
Yeah. And I think it's good as well. And I think a lot of businesses, I was saying to the M3C, like My Millennial Career Girls, like, because we've done a few career episodes and all that. Take a listen to that podcast if you want. It's really cool. That I think, you know, small businesses and businesses probably run at about 75% productivity out of their staff. Okay.
Yep.
I know when I'm working of a day, half my time's dicking around doing nothing. So we all know that you're not 100% productivity to what you're paid for. Okay. I think businesses, as you said, John, will come out of this and go, oh, we're actually getting more done with kind of less manpower.
Yeah.
So let's rearrange the deck chairs.
And why are we renting this massive
Yeah,
building?
and look at our overheads. We've just cut them in half.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Totally.
That's what I mean. Like a lot of you know people where I used to work are obviously talking about getting back into the office and that sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to be an option because, like you said, they're working just as well as they were before.
Yeah.
And really, a lot of the reason that even large businesses don't make so much of their workforce mobile isn't because they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's because, I mean, like, it's just so much work.
Yeah.
Like, you have to organize all the hardware and everything like that. But
Totally.
now with COVID, I mean, it's not an option anymore. You have to organize
Yeah.
it. It's all in place now.
My brother-in-law and his wife, basically both of them work in Sydney.
Yep.
2 kids. Through this time, they've both been working from home, still kept their jobs, but they're also homeschooling. So they're hoping, and I think it's going to happen, where they'll continue to work from home, but as soon as the kids go back at school, like their lifestyle is just enhanced. There's about 20 hours between them where they're not actually commuting. So they're getting dinners in the evening together. They're doing some things with the kids after school that they've never done, or one has done, but the other's away commuting. So it's a massive turnaround for those guys.
Yeah. I think it's just the ultimate reset that we can all and a lot of you, when we surveyed the group earlier, a couple of months ago, most people, I think about 80% of people were saving between $50 to $150 a week just in not eating out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wild.
Well,
Petrol.
There's no McDonald's in your house.
Oh, it sucks. McDelivery.
Oh, yeah, true. Sorry.
But yeah, and that was the problem. The petrol prices fell, but we couldn't take advantage of it because no one was driving anywhere.
No.
So, shall we have a bit of a look at the Facebook group?
Yeah, Asher and I prepared quite well for this, and we did have a look through, didn't we?
Yes, I spent most of last night doing it, actually.
So, we've all kind of picked some things. So, John, who did you see and who did you like?
Do you want me to give names and go the
give
full
a first
hog?
name.
Yeah, okay. So one I liked was this one by Kate Allen. Obviously, full name. I'm more introverted than I realised, and being at home and reducing social obligations has made me far happier, and that my family is most important as they are who I miss the most. Going to reduce socialising to once a week max moving forward.
I saw that one too.
interesting in respect to personality types, isn't it? Like introvert, extrovert. Do I like this period? Do I revel in it because I actually don't like talking to people anyway? Yeah. What did you have, Asher?
I got one here from Yasir. It just says that daily commute is a total waste of time and money, which is totally true. Like the only reason anyone does it is out of obligation because you have to, quote, go to work. But like we were discussing earlier, I don't think that's going to be a thing moving forward. It's going to be a new normal where there isn't so much like going to work. It's just going to that part of the house where I work.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like you've got more. There's actually an episode on My Millennial Career, Quarter Life Crisis, and it's talked about. Actually, I was the guest on there. That it's easier. What up? How are you? It's easier to change and adapt when your cash flow isn't tied up with debt. If your cash flow isn't running on the line. So, what else have you got, John? I've got one here.
I'm trying to find
Nat says, do way too much, need to simplify life, enjoy working from home, hate the trains, and will be the biggest struggle when I need to go back. Spent too much on coffees and work lunch previously. So that's a good one.
Yeah. I bloody lost mine.
No, that's all right. I'm having another look.
Where is
Here's
it?
one here.
What time was it sent?
Eva says, I learned that I did not have a work-life balance before COVID-19. Long days, never made it anywhere due to a combination of, part-time commute, living 23 kilometres from the CBD, train stopped at every stop, longer than 8 hours workday, never saw the sun till the weekend. My work was amazing. They supported us with working from home. Now I take my dog for a walk. I see the sun and produce better and more work. I love my new life. That's an interesting one, isn't it? More productive because there's no grind, go.
Yep.
Yeah, and the mindset's always reasonably fresh. There's some energy there. They can exercise. I was talking to someone yesterday. It's like I get to have my morning walk. I can work in my trackies. It's just this whole routine thing, isn't it?
Well, as well as the toilet paper thing, I also saw that bikes it's hard to get like a new bicycle now.
Yeah.
I work close to a bicycle store. They don't have any left because everyone wants to get out there and they weren't able to do it before. So
which is great.
It's crazy.
There's another one here from Lucille. Admittedly, as someone counting their blessings to be in work during this period, my partner and I realised that whilst we like the FIRE concepts, the idea of an early retirement is not for us. We have a wholehearted appreciation of what it means to work, to be needed, and to have the opportunity to do so. We'll probably willingly worked while we're able to. So that's kind of the sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're made redundant or if you're out of work, that does so much to the human thing, whether it's back in the cave and you're a hunter, that's a band.
Hunters and collectors.
We can all relate to being part of the hunters and collectors.
Hunter-gatherer.
There is freedom.
Yeah.
Do they sing that song?
No, that's Crowded House.
It's all the same, isn't it? They're all Australian.
Claire says that even after this, early childhood educators will be probably still undervalued.
Oh, you stole mine, you dog.
Oh, really? All right, well, go. What have you got?
Oh, well, that was it. But yeah, so I'll
Back
say it
to
again. Claire says that even after this, early childhood educators will be undervalued. And I'd say the same thing for all educators. So
You're married to one.
I'm married to a teacher. I have an older brother who's a teacher. I subsequently know a lot of teachers as well.
You teach life.
Sorry?
You teach life to people.
Do I?
I don't know.
Oh, I guess if this counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess people who aren't teachers don't realize what's involved in trying to keep a child's attention all day and trying to get them to absorb something and learn something,
totally.
let alone 30 at a time.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything worse than trying to teach your own kids as well. Like I know plenty of educators out there that have just ripped their hair out trying to teach their own kids, but they love teaching in general.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't find where I found it, but it's definitely in there somewhere. Someone was talking about they're grateful for the industry that they're working in, knowing that they've survived through this time or wasn't affected. And that is an interesting, I suppose, conversation, isn't it, around, well, do I choose an industry going forward based on how reliable it is for me and my family. Like, I always want to do something I'm passionate about, but if that's at the detriment of my family through times like this, how uncertain is the industry?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ashley says that she's found that there is no limit to the adaptability of the human race. Watching businesses and people grow, adapt and find resilience through the changing environment has been amazing. Jacqueline says, I've realised in the normal times that I have the guilty feeling of not doing enough. Doing things, going out, having a million hobbies, catching up with everyone. She can now breathe and she doesn't want to go back to the feeling of FOMO on weekends. So I think that's really good as well, just to be like, you know what? It's all good.
Yeah.
So the trick, I think, guys, is to the new habit, the new sense of whatever that is, how do we implement what we've learned through this period into our life and not let the old habits bounce back?
Yeah, and maybe look at your 2011 note taking and just make your 4 or 5 notes and then your action steps from there and just live those as the new norm.
And for me, those hard times, like I knew exactly, priorities, like I knew exactly what the bottom right hand of the page, I knew exactly where it was in that diary. I have not picked that diary up for 5 years, but that exact bit, I knew if I kept going through, it's the bottom right of one of the pages. And I knew it was early on, so it's going to be at the front of the diary.
Yep.
So for me, that time going through that, like literally no money. Like people don't realize, like to have a financial planning license, I had to pay like $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And pay rent and had a car payment.
And
you'd want to talk about like, can Glenn James relate? I know what it's like to have it. There could have been, it wouldn't have mattered if I owed $1 million. I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So if I owed 10 grand, there was no difference with 10 grand and $1 million.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any
Still
of it.
can't give it to you.
Yeah. Look, I'm on your side. I think you are relatable. So I don't know who was writing that sort of rubbish. But the other thing as well is being a financial planner, perceived in the public as, well, you should have money.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
there's a
but
bit
there's
of
a difference between starting a business
I know,
and
but
your craft.
correct.
Yeah.
But people can easily have the undertow of the pressure of being a financial planner or a mortgage broker or whoever it is. It's like a personal trainer that's not fit. You've got to walk the walk, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Georgia says she's thankful she's now richer than I ever thought. Financially, socially, I'll never take those things for granted again. And she's more of an introvert. I'm just looking at the ones where heaps of people have ticked like love. Kelsey said, life is short and never again want to sit through a funeral through a computer screen. A rainy day fund is important, and just because there might be a way to transition your job into an online platform doesn't mean you should at the expense of your mental health. More life than work balance will be a new... Yeah. So basically, new priority for her is more life than work.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting one. Like, that was so surreal. Like, I was at my aunt's funeral and there was only 10 of us. And I streamed it live.
Yeah.
Like, it was just...
Crazy, isn't it? What we we're talking about before, Asher, Ivy says here, growing my own vegetables and bought a sewing machine to make my own fashionable clothes has saved me so much money.
Yeah.
And how she can literally learn anything off YouTube with, don't know why it's not a university with custom-made degrees. So, it's if her passion, she's gone back to a hobby basically and indirectly save her money.
Jaspreet said, I actually don't need a gym membership. Now, that's interesting. When you're doing your budget, can you reflect over the last 3 months and go, life still went on and I still kept healthy, for example?
Yeah.
Or I didn't need the 15 subscription services? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. What is it that you can reflect on?
I think there's so much stuff that people could reflect on that they wouldn't need. I think what maybe part of the problem might be is that when things do go back to, I guess, quote, as normal as they can be, what's the pressure going to be like for you to rejoin that stuff? Like,
That's
I think
right.
now more than ever, I've seen, advertisements for insurance companies and everything, basically just saying, we're still here. Like really, really pushing the fact that even though you're still at home, maybe you don't need your car insurance right now, but we'll give you a break on it or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
What's the pressure going to be like when everyone is back out there, when the appetite to consume and buy is, all the more sort of flared up? What's going to happen
In the example of that gym membership, I may not need it, but 4 of my other friends are going. Do you want to come?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Do I go for a run by myself, or do I succumb to peer pressure and want to train with my friends?
That comment.
I do neither. What?
It sort of comes back to that comment that person made around, I don't want to be spending all this time out all the time with my friends. I actually enjoy, time by myself and that sort of thing.
Reflection.
How do I not fall back into that?
Correct.
And it's
like
like,
everyone else is doing it.
yeah, you just got to remember what it felt like to be like that and
I
then
think-
not go.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, we've all made all these changes. Like, I've saved heaps of money because I haven't eaten out breakfast every day. I don't know what else has changed for me.
That's the only thing you can think of.
Well, I know your cleaner came this morning because we couldn't do a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. She comes Monday mornings. But I guess what I'm saying is, if there is, one for me is to be a little bit more cash heavy for the emotional thing. Okay. So if there's been 5 weird changes in your life that, it's been so great. We know habits and behaviors kick in. Let's just focus on keeping one.
Yeah.
Let's just go for one. What can you keep in your life? Whether it is, you know what? I've saved an extra $150 a week through this bloody lockdown.
Yeah.
I'm still going to save at least $75 a week extra.
Yeah.
Like, non-negotiable.
That's right.
Life goes on because my goals matter more than my freaking caramel latte.
Although it's nice at the time. I think understanding and reflecting is, before COVID, were we content and happy in our life?
Yes.
So number one, if the answer to that is yes, great. We might just have a new version of that. I was happy.
Yep.
If we came into realizing or reflecting that, hang on a minute, I was actually grumpy, I was stressed, I was something was going to fall down.
Yep.
This has been the reset button, hasn't it, for them to change the direction that they had.
Emily said an interesting one here. She's learned that women are even more responsible for the invisible labor that props society up than we realize, and we're not getting paid for most of it. So you can look in the Facebook group, and she put some articles there. You can just, search invisible labor or something like that. But I guess she's basically saying it's been highlighted that, so for example, in heterosexual relationships, there's studies that say women still carry the whole thing in terms of maybe some of the household chores or whatever. And I was even funny, like, once, and it's just so weird, like, and I kind of feel guilty when I think back on it, like, once for Mum's birthday, I bought a new washing machine. And it's like...
Oh, I've got a story like that too. I bought my mum in like a new kettle.
Yeah. How bad's
Kettle's
that?
better than the washing machine.
She wasn't happy still.
I mean, it's just...
She didn't say so, but she looks like... Yeah.
But Mum was over the moon.
The iron's probably the ultimate.
Oh, no, I didn't.
But I look back on that and it's like, that's rubbish. But then again, my dad...
But you didn't know any better?
No, I didn't know any better, but my dad married a mum. Like, she does everything.
Yeah. Which was tradition, wasn't it, back then for most people?
Oh, it's just rubbish though.
I know it is, but he didn't know any different.
No.
And you didn't at the time either.
But conversely, Mum actually likes doing all that crap. Genuinely likes looking after the house.
Yeah. She just appreciates something a bit better than a washing machine.
Yeah. Anything.
It cost me $800, you idiots.
Yeah. Could have bought a car for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember her name, but
Emily.
Yeah. She makes an interesting point because a lot of the, I guess, required, the jobs that need to stay, rolling basically. So we think about, the nursing profession,
Educators,
aged care. There's all these things that are predominantly female industries or female dominated industries that are required to keep going. And really, there's some of the, if not the most important thing, which is making sure that the people who are little on us learn and grow up to be responsible adults, making sure that people don't die when they don't have to.
Yeah.
These are all the things that I guess we're really focused on now. But when the rest of the world is, back to normal.
Go back to...
Yeah, but like devil's advocate, and it's not a... I don't want it, like, this whole topic's beyond the scope of money podcast.
Of course, yeah.
But like most truck drivers I've ever seen are males.
Yep.
And,
sure.
you know, who's bringing the toilet paper to Woolworth? So I think it's just this, we need to step back and be thankful for all the frontline service workers. And it's like ScoMo, as dumb as it was at his press conference, it's like, if you've got a job, you're essential. And the memes that were going around, I'm essential.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I guess
think-
it's a homage to, you know, truck drivers. No one thinks about them ever.
Well, I
Like-
think it's what you're saying is basically onto Emily's point as well, which is, you know, obviously she's focusing on the female aspect, but it's really anyone who is behind the scenes
Making this thing tick.
making the whole sort of cog turn,
Yeah.
basically. That, you know, we don't want them to be forgotten about when all this is done and dusted. We don't want to sort of be reading stories just about, you know, hedge fund owners and things like that again.
Yeah, totally. And I would encourage you, jump into the Facebook group. Emily's, she's got a heap of comments and links that we haven't got time for now, but I just want to highlight it. If you jump in and search Invisible Labour, you'll see her post. She's got a heap of stuff there. And thanks for your contribution, Emily. Now, let's just finish up with a couple more. Do you guys have any other ones that jumped out to you?
Look, Shelley says next time I change company to consider the industry a bit more closely, which is I was talking about before.
Yeah, Jessica, she said about the commuting to work, like she realised actually how long. Like when I left Sydney and worked from the coast, I'm like, I commuted for like 5 years. And same with you, Asher.
Yep.
Like you just fall into it and you're going to get match fit for it.
4 hours a day for 7 years.
Yeah, it's like
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
you get match fit and you actually, it's no big thing.
Yeah.
It ain't no thing or whatever. You know what I mean? But you step back and retreat and go, hang on, am I crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was
normal.
just doing what I had to do.
Yeah.
But if you were the only one doing it and no one else was, it'd be considered crazy. You wouldn't do it.
It'd be like commuting from the Gold Coast to Sydney every day. No
Yeah.
one would
So
do that.
yeah. So Sarah Booth says that I can support my family of 5 on one income.
Wow.
That not being in debt has a big part in that. That we waste too much money on things and stuff that keep us busy. Yeah. She wants a slower paced lifestyle. So that's gold.
One thing I have noticed, not so much a comment, but in conversation with people during this whole thing, is that for me and with these people anyway, there's sort of a bit of perspective change in how they see welfare and the welfare state as well. Like, you know, a lot of people will sort of see welfare recipients as, you know, why don't they just go and get a job and contribute and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when something like this happens where there isn't really a recourse and there are no jobs to get, a lot of people that I've spoken to are sort of saying, and whether you agree with the current government or not and how they've gone about doing things, the fact is that there is money out there to be had if you need it. Like we're really lucky in that aspect. You look at other countries like America, for example, that have 35 million unemployed
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. A lot of people sort of that I've noticed have sort of changed their tune a little bit around, you know, welfare and the idea of a welfare state and a safety net and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think as horrendous, and someone else made the comment in there, like as horrendous as the government may have handled the bushfire crisis, for example, if you thought that was horrendous or not. And I don't know, I think from my point of view, their communication was horrendous. But all that aside, someone made the comment in there that she thought that the Morrison government actually nailed this compared to other countries.
Yeah.
And I actually think they did really well
Yeah, I
under
think so
circumstances.
as well. Remember that interview we did with the economist?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was at that time when he said it'll be how the government responds as to how quickly we get through this. And thankfully, they've responded really well. The question is, how the hell is it going to get repaid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a watch this space with things that are going to be on the chopping block. I mean,
whether you agree or disagree with how it was handled from a government perspective, I mean, this has never happened before.
no, exactly.
And if we're all going to be nice and assume that everyone's just trying to do the best they can, like, you know, if you don't think they did a great job, that's cool. But just understand that, you know, this is a pandemic.
Yeah.
There's no sort of like test course. There's no sort of simulator you can go into.
Well,
It's like,
conversely, if you think, you know, ScoMo and the government have done a bad job, just compare it to Trump and it'd be like him saying to the governors, no, we need to open the economy, but it's the governors stopping it, like totally politicking within his states where, you know, it'd be like ScoMo saying, oh no, we needed to open, but bloody
Daniel Andrews.
Daniel Andrews or Anastasia Palaszczuk or Gladys Berejiklian, they won't open it. So I'm the good guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they're the bad people.
If it wasn't for those people, you'd be back at work.
So I think, and the fact that
That's
he did
crazy.
the national cabinet, which is just like weekly meetings or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's done. Like, what else can you do? What do you do?
I think we can all be grateful that we live here and not there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the controversy is around how the different states are different, have got their different rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But that's really just as a result of how many cases there are in each particular
The
state.
biggest cock up in Australia was that bloody cruise ship.
Yes.
And whether it was, and it's not a political podcast, but whether it was the New South Wales government who dropped the ball,
Yeah.
or were they acting off false information from the cruise ship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's dodgy.
Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, for that to be the biggest sort of fouler,
Yeah,
Totally.
pretty good.
yeah, not
Totally.
bad.
Yeah.
And I think we'll bounce back faster and stronger. I honestly think, because
Yeah.
they've already saying, look, we probably overcooked the stimulus. Like, we need to start to turn back the job keeper so you can pay it to people within your business. Like, I think we'll start to see some tweaks there.
Well, any sort of downturn usually recovers at the same rate that it went in at, and this was pretty sharp. It happened pretty quick,
Yeah,
didn't it?
yeah,
Within
yeah.
2 or 3 weeks.
But
we were
I
in.
think we'll bounce back faster. I mean, once, we want to go out again. We want to go to restaurants. We want to get back out there.
the big risk is the second version of it, because everyone's gone out and
Whether
just
there's a
gone partying
second
for
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's interesting as well is how quickly some of these things, I mean, whether you think it was quickly or not, like some of these things were mobilized and sort of brought to fruition really quickly. So some of those incentives and everything, that was a matter of days or weeks until it was turned around. So I think moving forward from like a federal government perspective is that what has just happened is always going to be something that people are referring back to when, something either isn't delivered or something is not on time. It's like, well, how come you could do it that quickly back then? Doesn't need to be a pandemic.
Emergency.
Yeah, there's an emergency now, mate. But
Epidemic.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway.
it'd be like owning a shipping company and telling everyone, "Oh, we can't ship to your country in any less time than 2 weeks." Something happening, you get it there in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, what do you refer back to? How come you could do it then? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just all wild, and we've seen the politics have started to come back up now.
Yeah.
Because the Labor Party, they're not going to say anything bad through the peak of the crisis. They're just going, yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah.
That would be crazy not to.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of settled. They're now going, oh, what about this? So
Yeah. We were all friends once.
Yeah.
totally.
Now just back to our day jobs.
Totally. All right, we're going to leave it there. Hopefully that's been a bit of a reflection, bit of encouragement. I've certainly taken away things from this downturn. The gents have here, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.